What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's doing well. It is a sunny day here in Indiana, so I decided to come out and hit the range, and I brought out a gun that you guys are absolutely gonna love. This is the newest addition to my collection, and this is the Highpoint C9. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. How did you afford that? I had to go take out a loan, but we made it happen. So what we're gonna do today is run some rounds through the Highpoint C9, and honestly, I know we all joke about it, but I wanna see if this gun will run. Now, I have owned another Highpoint in the past, never had any issues with it. These things do have lifetime warranty, and from my understanding, Highpoint stands by that pretty thoroughly. Another way to look at these guns, not everybody has hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go spend on guns, and I do understand that. I would personally recommend saving up. Nowadays, you can get a pretty nice gun for, I don't know, $250, $300. I see Smith & Wesson Shields on sale all the time, and especially if you look into the used market, you can really find good deals under that $300 price range. Now, right now I have 9 rounds loaded up in the gun. This is one of the extended Highpoint mags, but I was only able to get 9 rounds in it. So we're gonna run this thing and see if it's gonna work. So let's quit talking and put some rounds through this sexy ass Highpoint. No issues whatsoever. I'm gonna go ahead and load up this magazine. I do only have 1 magazine, and I probably will order a few more Highpoint mags just so I don't have to keep running back and reloading all the time. Not that this thing is gonna come to the range with me a whole lot, but this is a gun that I just really wanted to get my hands on lately. I don't know why. And here in its near future, I think it may be taking a trip in that pond. We'll just have to see, but for right now, I wanted to do a function test and show you guys how this baby runs. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people do bash Highpoints, and a lot of us in the gun industry, gun community, do joke around about them quite a bit. But at the end of the day, they do work. It's really hard to bash a gun that, fires every time you pull the trigger. Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world. It's definitely, it has its flaws, and I'm not gonna sit here and just keep bashing them. I know a lot of guys were kind of mad that I bought one on Instagram. They're like, why would you do that? What the hell? But at the same time, it's like, dude, I paid $100 for this thing. How could you go wrong? Now, I like having some cheaper guns around. Say you're going on a fishing trip, something like that, where you don't want to take one of your $1,000 Glocks and, get it all jacked up. But I would much rather something happen to this Highpoint than one of my $1,000 Glocks. So I have 9 more rounds loaded up in the C9. Let's see if she's gonna run. And this may sound crazy, but the trigger in this C9 really isn't too bad. Now, the reset is pretty gritty, the reset's pretty awful, but as far as the trigger pull, this thing has a pretty light trigger pull. I wanna say it's probably like 4 to 4.5 pounds, and we will throw the trigger gauge on there once we head back to the house. But I'm gonna load up a few more magazines, we'll fire a few more rounds through this, and then we're gonna head back to the house and talk a little bit more about the C9. 9 more rounds loaded up in the C9, and honestly, I have quite a bit of confidence in this gun that it's gonna fire all 9 rounds, but we won't know until we try. Spray and pray, baby, spray and pray. Now, Highpoint is coming out with a few new guns. I did see them at SHOT Show. I know they have one coming out with like a threaded barrel. I know they do have an older model that is compensated from the factory, which Sean from We Like Shooting picked one up, and it is pretty sweet. And I really couldn't tell you why, but I've just had this urge to buy a Highpoint. So when I went to a gun show this past weekend and found this bad boy for $100, I just couldn't turn it down. Now, the guy was asking $125. I threw down a $100 bill on the table and walked out with it. And he was like, before you go, and he pulls out the tote from under the table. He pulled out the 380 and the 45. He's like, do you want them all? I was like, man, I'm good right now. I'll just go with the C9, see what happens. But who knows? We might have to increase our Highpoint collection sometime down the road. I'm gonna load up 2 more magazines, and then we're gonna head back to the house. Slide lock's back, and as I mentioned, I do need to pick up a few more magazines. If you guys know the best place to find Highpoint magazines, definitely leave it down in the comment section below. And another thing I wanted to touch on real quick, I did see that they lifted the magazine ban in California. That is seriously awesome. I never thought any gun law would ever be overturned in California, so that is a huge win for you guys. ETS Group has just started shipping magazines out to California, so if you guys are watching this video early April 2019, today is the 1st, you can go on ETS Group and get your 30-round Glock mags, your 30-round AR mags, and they will ship it to California. Now I also want to give a huge shout out to ETS. They have been really good to me here on the channel, as well as a lot of other YouTubers. They have sent out magazines, their cam loaders, and their cam loaders are freaking awesome. If you click on the first link down in the video description that says discount codes, that'll take you to my Facebook page or Gunstreamer channel, where all of the normal discount codes and affiliate links usually are, so be sure to check that out. But we have one more magazine for this beastly C9, and then we're gonna head back to the house. No issues whatsoever, and we only ran, I think, 36 rounds, maybe 45 through this gun, but this is definitely not the last time you guys will be seeing the Highpoint C9 at the range. So let's head back to the house and talk a little bit more about the C9. Back in the man cave, and something that I found pretty funny from today's range trip, I took 3 guns with me. I took a 10.5-inch AR pistol, I took a Glock that I just threw together, and then I took this beautiful Highpoint C9. Well, out of all 3 of those guns, the C9 was the only one that I did not have any issues with. Now, I did only run, I think, 45 rounds through the Highpoint C9, so we really didn't do anything too crazy with it. I would like to go out with like 200 or 300 rounds and run those all continuously of mixed ammunition, brass, steel, hollow points, things like that. And then we are going to do a little bit of torture testing with this gun in the near future. Now what I want to do right now is just a basic rundown on how the Highpoint is made. And this is a polymer framed gun. It does have serrations in the rear, as well as serrations up here in the front. You really can't tell a whole lot, but at least they put them there. Now I did speak on the trigger when we were out at the range, saying that it really didn't feel too bad. At the range, I guessed it was 4.5 pounds, but when I came home, I threw the trigger gauge on there, and it is pulling at 7 pounds. Now one thing that is unique about the Highpoint trigger, it is hinged. So on most pistol triggers, you're gonna pull them straight back. On this here, it is hinged at the top, so you almost push down and back. It's kind of weird. It's almost like a curved motion when you pull the trigger. I don't know, it's a little different. I don't think it's something that I will get used to, and I really don't think it's something I like, but as far as the actual break of the trigger pull, it really doesn't feel that bad for a $100 gun. Now, moving up from the frame, this slide is an absolute tank. It measures in right about 1.5 inches, and it is made out of zinc aluminum, which is kind of proprietary to Highpoint, and it also is powder coated. Now you can get these in like a few different camos, the money print, which man, I would love to have one of those. And this particular model C9 did come with a Peep Sight. I think they offer them with a Peep Sight, 3-dot sights, and maybe something else, I'm not positive. But this model here had the Peep Sight, not my first choice, but it is what it is. And the front sight is just integrated right out of the slide, that zinc aluminum. So, I don't know, it is very top heavy, there's no doubt about that. A few more things about the Highpoint C9. They decided to put that wonderful Phillips head screw hanging right out of the grip there. That looks awesome as well. This one here does have a 10-round magazine. This is the extended magazine, and I was only able to get 9 rounds out of it. Not too big of an issue. I would like to order a few more mags though, but when you buy a C9 from Highpoint or from your local gun shop, it's probably going to come with an 8-round magazine, so 8 + 1 rounds in your Highpoint C9 from the factory. Not the best thing, but it is what it is. This is a cheap gun. This is meant for people that are on a budget. Maybe you're just getting into firearms and you really don't understand why you should go spend, $400 or $500 on a gun. But guys, these days, you can buy a Smith & Wesson Shield brand new for $250 with free shipping. I just don't see any reason why you couldn't save an extra $100 to buy a Shield over the Highpoint. But if this is something your heart is set on, go for it. Now, I really can't say this thing's good to go, anything like that, until we get out to the range and run a sufficient amount of rounds through it. And I'd also like to put it through a little bit of torture testing, so we will see how this thing performs. Another thing about the Highpoint C9, this is a blowback gun, meaning that the barrel is fixed to the frame. Not too big of a deal there, but as far as disassembly goes, and this is one reason I'm just not the biggest fan of this gun, even if you want to field strip this gun, there is a roll pin right here in the back that you have to punch out every single time that you want to take the slide off of this gun. So that is something I really think Highpoint should think over and maybe try to redesign if they can. I don't know. But the Highpoint C9 is what it is, guys. It is a cheap gun. It is a budget gun. but I do think that everybody should have the right to defend themselves, even if they don't have a lot of money. And this is just a first introduction video. We will get out to the range and put this thing through its paces. And this is just a one-of-one sample. I have seen videos where guys say, you know, my Highpoint has ran thousands of rounds and never had an issue. And then I've also seen videos where guys have ran a couple hundred rounds and had tons of issues. So we will see how this Highpoint C9 performs over time, but I think that's going to wrap it up. So if you guys have any further questions, or if you have any experience with a Highpoint, I would love to hear about it down in the comment section below. But guys, that's going to wrap it up. So as always, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate all the support. I'll catch you guys in the next one.